Well, thanks for joining us here for our Agri-Pulse Washington Week in Review. I'm Spencer Chase, joined as always by Agri-Pulse senior editor Phil Brasher, discussing the week that was, agriculturally speaking, in Washington. And Phil, we want to get started by talking about some action today. I say today, we're filming this on Thursday afternoon. Some action today in the Senate Agriculture Committee, a very brief business meeting moving a couple of bills dealing with mandatory livestock price reporting, some stuff with the Forest Foundation, as well as a Grain Standards Act. Phil, what can you tell us about those bills? I believe there's been a House equivalent of all three of those pieces of legislation. What can you tell us about those bills and their path going forward?
Yeah, well, Spencer, as usual, when things really get done in Congress, they get done behind closed doors, and so when the final work gets to the committee for a vote, everything is pretty much signed, sealed, and delivered. This was a deal that was the House passed each three pieces of legislation. Two of these laws expire September 30th. One authorizes grain inspection and sets standards for that. The other bill authorizes the livestock price reporting system, which has become very popular in many quarters of the livestock industry. Also set to expire September 30th, so there's some urgency to get this done. There were several very sort of key issues that they had to work out. On grain standards, the grain traders were very insistent on getting some kind of stopgap inspection authority set up in case of another labor dispute, and like we had on the West Coast last year that shut down inspection for quite some time. There was finally a compromise on that would allow some private inspections as long as the buyer and seller agree on it, if there's no federal or inspection taking place. There was also some tweaks to the price reporting system. They were all put together in one bill. The Senate Agriculture Committee approved it today. It needs to go back for final approval from the House. But these agreements, these final compromises were worked out with the House Agriculture Committee, so it should be fairly quick final action and on to the President.
So yeah, that hearing took all of 10 minutes today, I think. It was very, very quick. I mean, do you think that's an indication of, to the point where, yes, we've got a deal, not only this will get through our committee, but it'll also get through the full chamber?
Right, well that's exactly, and not only that, but the House will be okay with it, because these were fairly, would seem like from the outside, minor issues, but to the people in the industry, they're very, very important issues, and they had to be worked out with both chambers, especially with the deadline of September 30th coming up on the grain and with the livestock reporting system especially. There's some urgency to getting this done. They got all of these disagreements worked out ahead of time, so it was just a quick voice vote in committee, and we should see the rest of the action in the Senate and the House go fairly quickly.
And also I want to talk about something that didn't happen in Washington, but it's going to affect Washington in November of 2016. That, of course, being the presidential debates occurring Wednesday night on CNN with had an undercard of 4 kind of secondary candidates and then 11 candidates, which, I mean, that's an entirely separate issue. 11 candidates, 11 people trying to have a debate. But they had a debate on a wide range of policy issues. Planned Parenthood, Iran, a lot of things came up. Really, the only time that agriculture was mentioned was in a brief discussion on immigration and some of the plans that a lot of these different candidates had. Phil, was there anything that really stood out to you during that immigration conversation?
Well, clearly Donald Trump, who's the front runner, doubled down on his call for mass deportations.
Right.
Jeb Bush, former governor of Florida, among others, pushed back saying, this is not practical, it would cost way too much money, you can't do that. Ben Carson, the neurosurgeon, raised questions about the border fence idea and whether that was really as secure as Trump was making it sound like. There was also some discussion back and forth about about what you do if you don't deport the illegal immigrants. What do you do with them? Florida Senator Marco Rubio, who was pretty forceful in this debate, stuck with the idea of eventually giving them some kind of legal status. He didn't. He had to kind of. He talked about the border security, doing the mandatory e-verify first. Another interesting thing that came up is again Ben Carson, who's been running number 2 to Donald Trump in most of the polls. Had to defend his idea of allowing farm workers to stay in the country under some kind of guest worker program. He said he had to make an exception for them because agriculture, he had been convinced that agriculture just had such a serious problem attracting workers, and Americans didn't want to do farm work.
And also want to just briefly touch on the subject of child nutrition. There was supposed to be a hearing this week on markup of child nutrition. That ended up getting delayed. From what Agri-Pulse has learned, it involves, Phil, some CBO scores that Senator Pat Roberts is waiting back. Right.
Well, there are sort of two pieces to getting the new child nutrition law. One is the debate over the policy, the standards themselves, whether they're going to be changed significantly from the new higher standards that have been imposed under the current law, which expires September 30th. Democrats in the Obama administration would like to make sure those standards stay in place, but they're willing to provide some flexibility, but they want some more money, particularly for a summer feeding program, and that's where these budget estimates come in. So the money has to come from somewhere, and I think that's probably part of the issue. So we could start to see some action. It's not that that the bill is off the table or it's stalled. Senate Agriculture Chairman Pat Roberts indicated that they were close to agreement on the policy, but they needed to get those numbers on the additional money that would be in the bill.
So still a lot to come on that issue and many other issues as well, and we'll be sure to keep you up to date on all things agricultural policy in Washington. That's going to do it for this week. For Phil Brasher, I'm Spencer Chase. Have a good one.